Chris Robin, and you all know after watching all 100 and somehow 20, almost 130 or 40 episodes, you should know me by name by now. And we have a special musician here. Well, you're all special, of course. Um, his name is Joel, but we're going to call him Grim, as in Grimrock. And he's had a release this year with a song called Haunted. And it's been lingering on the top 10 on the XRP Radio U and I charts, UK, most recently in number 9 and number 17 on the Radio TSFC Daily Top 24 in Germany, because they love their music.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you had initial release. Well, let's just talk to him. Well, hello, Grim.
How are you, Mr. Chris?
How are you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
Excellent. So good to see you. And I love the bandana, too.
Oh, yeah. I got a logo everything, you know?
Yeah. Now, first of all, what I have to do is I have to check to make sure that my audio is still there. There we go. Okay. So, there we go. Grimrock. Can you give us a little bit of a little back history of who you were, how growing up, and when did you decide that music was where you wanted to go?
Well, I learned music at a very early age because my dad was actually a trained classical pianist. And so he listened to a lot of like classical music and opera and things like that. And he was very good at what he was doing. And I got a lot of my musical sense from, listening to a lot of that stuff. It's very technical stuff, and he had that, and he had a lot of psychedelic 60s records. I don't know, opera and psychedelic 60s. But anyway, I picked up on the psychedelic stuff real quick because I love listening to a lot of that stuff. And one day I was down in his basement in my mom's house, and I was listening to 45s, and the A side always had the hit, but the B side, you didn't know what it was. So I used to flip them all over because I already knew what a lot of the A sides were, and listen to all the B sides. And I come across one that actually I don't think was an actual authorized release one, but it was Shadows of Night. And the song was Gloria, but it wasn't the 66 version. It was Gloria 69. So it had the heavy overdriven guitar over top of it. And I heard that and I was totally blown away by it. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to play music. And that was it. That's how it all started, And
you were very young too when you wanted to decide that. But if it wasn't music, what would have been? Would you have had any other sort of interest or talent that you would have shone as?
Outside of music, probably not. I probably went to college and went for some kind of degree in something and, did something, I don't know if you call it normal, but, something outside of that. And I probably wouldn't have ever did music, if I would have done that. So, while there's pros and cons to it, I'm kind of glad I didn't do that,
Yeah, you want a happy childhood, you want a happy life, but then you come up with this name for the band, and you are the band, Grimrock, and we all know what grim means.
Yes, and Grim actually was my nickname for a long time, and it was a disposition because I was an angrier person when I was younger, I guess. And I'm kind of like a happy Grim now, I guess, if it's even possible, but that's the case. So, I just pretty much took my nickname, and I love rock and roll, just put the two together, and there you have it.
Did you have a happy childhood?
I did. Yeah, I can't complain about it,
But it's kind of like an oxymoron. Here you had a happy childhood and a happy life, but then you call yourself something that's totally opposite. Grim.
Yeah, I know. It kind of catches a lot of people off guard, because it's just, look at me, I'm smiling and,
yeah,
very, very well tempered mannered, everywhere, it just, I think it makes people like, what the heck, but I think it's more like, more like an inner thing, for me, really in the end, I have that inner angst and stuff, that just, I display, my music, I put it out in emotion and in music,
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. And you said your dad was a classical pianist, and did
Hmm.
he play things like Mozart and Chopin and Prokofiev and all those classical?
Absolutely.
Wow. But you didn't decide to follow in his footsteps. You decided to go in a totally different direction.
Right. And, I can sit and play a piano, a regular acoustic piano. I have a Wurlitzer. It was my dad's,
Mm.
and I can sit and play that. I cannot read music, though. It's all ear. Like
Yeah,
he
so
would
you
play something and I would repeat it, pretty much.
that's kind of high savant usually as someone who has like a sort of like a type of autism where they can literally something called synesthesia where you can literally see colors, so you can play the music by seeing colors. So you have the reds, the blues, and I think it's pretty amazing the type of work that you put into your music. um, so for instance, when we talk about the song Haunted, everyone,
Mhm.
has a song called Haunted, and I was looking at the lyrics. So it starts off like the pale blue sky turn to gray, rain falls down, paper planes. Can you give us an idea of what your song creation is all about? Like, what's your creative process in putting something like this together?
So I usually pick up an acoustic guitar before I do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, I try to say maybe 90% of the time, and I'll come up with little rhythms or licks that are on the acoustic, and then I'll transfer them over. So I don't really have like a completed idea per se, for something. I just kind of
Mm-hmm.
jot ideas down, record them wherever I'm at, pretty much. And then I go back later on, transfer them to an electric guitar, and if they sound good, or sound like they could be modeled into something, then I record it that way. And then I usually only record like, I don't know, anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute of the music. And I'll actually go in and record the guitar, the bass, and the drums, and then I'll do a hum track because I don't write lyrics first. Those
Wow.
lyrics are always last, you know, and I'll do a hum track with it just to get the, where I want the highs, the lows, where I want to extend it at. Then I start placing words, and then I finish the song in sections. So that's how I usually do it.
Now, that's very interesting, my friend, because I was talking to other musicians and we talk about the creative process. Some say, well, what I do is I come up with a melody and I write lyrics around it, and others say I think of the lyrics first and then I add the melody, and then others will say that they just get from experiences. For instance, I noticed that with Haunted, you start out with pale blue sky and then it turns to gray, rain falls down, but paper planes. Like, how does that fit in those lyrics?
It's kind of like a thing to say the world's falling down around me, kind of way of saying it like that. Whereas, I'm in a space, at
Mhm.
that moment when I write it, and, I had some things happening around that period of time, that were, impacting me negatively. And that was my way of getting it out of my system, you know, and the whole paper plane thing really is just trying to throw that away. You know what I mean? Because that's what you do with a paper plane. You make it and you throw it and that's it. You know what I mean? So it was just trying to get rid of the feeling that I was having, the darkness, at that time.
Well, I know that some musicians and some bands, what they do, excuse me for that. So what they do is that the title comes from one of the lyrics, and I noticed that "Haunted" was from your look. It's haunted by the look in your eyes, haunted. So did the title of the song come after you wrote the song, or did you just say, "Okay, this song is called Haunted. Let's write a song around it"?
No, I come up with the main part of the lyrics, and then I decided to call it haunted. You know,
Hmm.
and the actual piece where it says haunted by look in your eyes, what's in your mind is, I was, like I said, in a space, I was looking in the mirror one morning when I was getting dressed for work and everything. And, I could tell, visibly that, with the events going on that couple days ahead, it was affecting me, you know what I mean? But I didn't let it affect me outside of that, you know what I mean? It just kind of kept it in, and then when
Hmm.
I wrote the song, then I kind of let it all out, you know?
Would you consider yourself, Grim, a multi-instrumentalist? Like, are there some instruments that you wish you could learn to play, some instruments that you don't even want to learn to play? Like, what's your preference of instrument that you would usually pick up first from a number of instruments that you have in front of you? Is it the bass guitar, as you mentioned?
No, it's the regular guitar, and I don't consider myself a great guitar player. I know enough mechanically to get through it. I have all kind of stuff. I have a didgeridoo. I want to use it one day.
Really,
I have,
from Australia? I love
yeah,
those
I
things.
actually got one. I could probably reach across and grab it to show you, but I have one
Yeah.
of those. I have a lot of hand percussion instruments that I want to put in things.
Wow.
So I don't have really a preference. Um, whatever I can use to make something sound good is what I use.
Does it take you long to write a song? For instance, how long did it take you to write Haunted? And when you were done writing it and playing it and recording it, did you go like, still not right? Or did you say, that's it? That's the sound I want. And then off to the next one?
It was kind of a little of both. I was happy with how it turned out, and then I went back and just started making adjustments on it, to try to make it more balanced. You know what I mean? So there was a lot of addition and subtraction with it, but I was happy with it, with the initial part of it, So that's why I carried on with it.
So what is the reaction? I don't know if I assume your father and mother are still alive. I figure that your dad, you playing your music for him, and what was his initial reaction? Say like, I thought you want to play the piano and be like me, or was he like, I love it?
Well, I can tell you, my mom, she likes to listen to it. She'll pull me up on YouTube to listen to stuff because she's not on Facebook and stuff.
Wow.
I unfortunately, my dad passed away in 2006, so I could not answer on his behalf for that. Although I will tell you, I do have a track that's coming out that actually has his vocals at the very end of something that I did, and the track's called "My Friend," and it's taken me a long time to do because it's very hard to listen to, So
Yeah, I lost my father actually 21 years ago, and I have those old phone, kind of like those voice message systems with the tiny little cassette player, has his voice on it.
mhm.
And every so often you can listen to his voice, and you never forget your dad's voice. And he actually had an opera singer voice. He could sing really well, and I think I got um, my singing voice from him because nobody else in my family can really sing, to tell you the truth. But I actually think it's a gift from God.
Mhm.
What other artists and bands do you draw inspiration from? Like, who would be your favorite metal bands, musicians, pianists? Do you have a particular one?
Not a particular one. I listen to a lot of different music. I like to think that a lot of my influences were everything from my, picking up a good acoustic to do it, like Nick Drake, things like that,
Mm.
and all the way to Gary Newman and everywhere in between. You know what I mean? There's just influences. I'm influenced by a lot of things. I listen to a lot of music. And what's crazy is everybody asks me, well, how do you prepare? What do you listen to when you prepare yourself for a thing? And I listen to 70s disco.
That's interesting because a totally different genre altogether. It's like me.
Mhm.
Um, that's like Alice Cooper saying that he listens to like children's songs or something. Like, I mean, it's totally, it's not bad. Like, I still listen to things like, you know, I kind of listen to everything. I don't really like rap that much, but I do listen to it. Um, what are your feelings towards rap? Would you rather just stick with your one
Yeah,
genre?
I I probably couldn't do it. You know what I mean? That's just me. I'd probably try it and fail miserably at it. I'm sure. You know,
Yeah,
I'm a
when I
rocker. You
yeah,
know.
um, hence Grimrocker.
Hmm.
You mentioned Gary Newman's name in that song "Cars." I, I kind of like listen to Gary Newman too, but it was the only song I liked. And I think now he's actually performing with his daughter, who's also a musician as well. Um, so, what do you think is the best thing about being like being a musician, and what's the worst thing? What do you feel is the worst thing first?
I think the worst thing is the difficulty getting out there to the general public, because you can get frustrated pretty easily, especially in my area. My immediate local area, I just live south of Pittsburgh, but it's just far enough. I'm in this little space
Mm-hmm.
that isn't very accepting of original music. But if I played Leonard Skinner, Freebird every weekend at a local bar, I'd be playing every weekend, you know. So I think it's hard to get your original ideas out to people and for them to accept it and adopt it. I think that's the hardest thing about the music.
Yeah, I can imagine. Have you ever thought of doing a Grimrock version of like for instance a Gary Newman tune or a cover version of thought like I'm going to see if I can do a cover version of a totally off the wall like Britney Spears for instance you want to do a Christina Aguilera song like Hurt. You could probably like that's a great song. You could
Hmm.
probably pick up a guitar and play your version of Hurt. And not only that, you put Grim and Hurt together. It's sort of like what produces excellent cover song. You ever done something like that with a cover song?
So I do have one cover song that's released under Grimrock, and it's actually a Kinks song, and it's the B side to Sunny Afternoon,
No.
and it's called "I'm Not Like Everybody Else." However, that wasn't the version I heard. I heard a band called the Chocolate Watch Band, which is a psychedelic band,
Oh.
do a version of that, and I absolutely loved their version of it. Went back, listened to the Kinks version, was like, I don't know about this, and then decided I want to do a heavy one. So I do have one cover, and it gets a ton of play, but it's not enough to say that's grim. You know what I mean? For somebody to identify it like that.
Yeah. Talking about the Kinks, we just lost John Gosling, and he's been a member
Hmm.
of like the Kinks, and it's, yeah, I think there's only like 2 or 3 members left. I think, and one of them is
Yeah.
Rick Davies as well.
Hmm.
Um, but so what do you like to do outside of music?
I love watching football. We're in Pittsburgh, so it's the Pittsburgh Steelers football. I just like to be outside, do things outside. Family take the family camping, stuff like that. You know, outside of work.
So is your, I guess you're in your studio right now. Is that have acoustically perfect or acoustically
Absolutely not.
so?
No,
No.
it definitely doesn't. Mm-mm.
So it doesn't help with your playing it. It's sort of like you can't make the room more acoustically perfect for you, so the
I, I,
music
pro-
sounds more.
I probably could. I direct connect everything though, everything that I can. So my guitar is direct connected. My bass is direct connected through the amps. I have an Ampeg amp and a Vox amp for my guitar. My drum set is actually an Elise's command mesh. It's a full electronic kit. It's a nice one. That's direct connected. When I go to do the vocals, I have to be very careful. It has to be nobody in the house. Things like that. Because those can get messy real fast. So
Can I ask if your sound equipment is from PV?
no, it's actually Mackie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I have Shure mics, Mackie mix board. Everything else is PreSonus as far as my monitors, my DAW, my interface. You know,
What about your guitars? You have like Taylors, Gibsons, Stratocasters, Vantage,
I have a Jackson. I love my Jackson guitar.
Jackson.
Yeah, I have a yellow Jackson V, and I love the heck out of that thing. My acoustic, though, I have a Washburn. It's really nice. And
So,
I
oh, nice. Look at that. That's.
that I keep in arm's reach all the time because I love playing that thing.
Can I ask you what's the product that the guitar is made out of? Like, is that fiberglass? Is that painted wood? What is it?
No, that's painted wood.
It's painted wood.
Oh yeah,
Do you
it's
find
got
it
a heck of a tone to it, though.
Yeah, but so do you find the sound different if you play a guitar that has a certain type of wood or plastic, or is it just the sound is because of the strings, or what is it?
I think it's. I don't know. Be honest with you. I just know it has an outrageous tone to it, and I love it. I use a custom set of Ernie balls on it, and then pickups or Jack's pickups that come with it. So, and I run it through my Vox amp. See, a lot of those kind of guitars, those hot rodded guitars like that, they play through Marshall stacks and all this crazy stuff. And I have a modest Vox amp that I love playing it through, and it gives it a slight different tone, you know what I mean, than it would playing through like a Marshall or, or whatever a large stack would be,
So, what do you think of? You ever heard of Charles Berthold, or have you ever heard of Davy 504? These YouTube channels of their basses. They like there's a ton of basses out there, and even Mark Knopfler, like all of them, Dire Straits, also like um oh I what's his name? Robert, is it Robert Plant or Jimmy Page? Which one plays the bass? Is it Jimmy Page, I
John
think?
Paul Jones.
John Paul Jones, yeah. Their playing is remarkable, but
Mhm.
I don't know if you're familiar with a guy by the name of Rick Beato, but he has the actual podcast channel, but he can actually teach you how to hear sounds and hear the music. Like he could tell you whether your guitars or your basses are either not strung properly or not in tune simply by. I mean, this guy's fantastic. So how would you, uh, how have you trained your ear over the years to um, balance out and make your guitar more in sync, so like it sounds good, like the A doesn't sound like a flat. Like, how do you do that?
I actually I have a keyboard. I have a
Hmm.
rolling keyboard, and I'll use a tone on there and match it to that, and then I'll tune the rest of it from there.
Now let me ask you something.
So it's
So,
probably off a slight, I'm sure. You know what I mean?
oh, okay.
To somebody, but I don't know. They have to be all off a slight to they all match up. So I guess I'm pretty close.
Yeah, like you have to be really good in your instruments, because there are people that can detect certain differences in sound. But yeah, so and when you play all your instruments to create a song, these are real instruments. These aren't like, you're not using like GarageBand or any of these other software products. They're
No.
actually all instruments.
Hmm.
That's very rare, but you know, I like that. I mean, I'm not saying that software like Pro Tools or GarageBand or anything where you can literally get electronic versions of every instrument and add it so it sounds like. I think Michael Bate band, I think he does that too. He uses just but you use real instruments.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't mess around with that stuff. I have very very few plugins, and what they are for EQ and things like that to do a final product. It's nothing. I don't use anything else. You know.
So why do you like that type of guitar? Why don't you use a Gibson or a Taylor or any of the other one? Why did you choose your specific model?
I had a Jackson. It was a Jackson Charvel
Hmm.
back. Oh man, I don't know, probably in the early '90s, late '80s, something like that. And I really loved it. And I ended up getting rid of it and getting an ESP. And I liked it. And I was like, yeah, whatever. So then I ended up buying a Gibson V. And that's when I started doing the odd shape things, And then I found a used Ibanez XV500, which has got a crazy shape to it. And I love that one. But you couldn't do, I mean, it was great for a ton of sustain, like in a flock of seagulls, how they have all that sustain. But
Hmm.
other than that, it was really hard to tame. So I sold that and ended up with a Washburn HB30, and I played that for a long time. But it didn't have that real sharp edge, either. So I went back to Jackson, and now with this guitar and with the tweaks on the Vox amp and the choice of strings and things, I think I got it pretty balanced out where it's still sharp, but it's still got enough tone, to cover the range. You know what I mean?
Is your ear good enough to be trained to learn if someone was playing like a guitar? Would you know it was a Jackson just simply by the sound?
Probably not from the sound, no. I mean, you can modify any of the guitars. I mean, if you got somebody that makes it for their specific sound, like I did, it could be any guitar. I'm sure. You know, it's just I prefer Jackson myself.
Okay, I'm just wondering what's the purpose of all these different companies that make all these guitars, like the four-string basses and the Vantage and the Gibsons and the Taylors, when they all just sound the same. So,
I'm
I
sure they
mean,
have their own tones, and that people use for stuff. I mean, like I said, HB30 would have been great for blues. You know,
Yeah, I agree with that. What do you think of the 5 neck guitars? I've seen actually maybe a couple of people play them. I've seen literally play all 5 necks. What do you think of those ones?
I think that's absolutely insane, and I'll give them kudos for being able to do that because I barely can play my one neck guitar, sometimes, so.
Someone told me it was all aesthetics. It has nothing to do with, oh, it does this, it can do this. They just
Oh, I'm
want to
sure.
look good.
I guess you would look good if you could do all that. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, like
I'm
the
not
guy.
gonna try it.
Yeah, like the guy from Cheap Trick. I think
Oh
it's
yeah,
he plays one of those.
he's got. I think his is what 2. He's got a 2. I think.
But I've seen someone do a 5 neck. That's like, whoa.
Yeah, that's too much. Two's even too much for me. I don't know. I think a 12 string would be too much for me. I have to be or more than 6 strings. I've seen 7 and 8s, but I can't do that either. I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I could if I mess with it enough, But
Do you clean all your instruments like the Jackson? Do you clean that on your own, or do you have to take it in?
I take the Jackson to get it all done.
Oh,
I don't
really?
mess with it. Mm-mm.
And what would be the most expensive component of that guitar?
Uh, I don't know. Probably the pickups in it. I'm sure. I don't know.
Because I
Jackson's
heard,
just expensive anyway.
yeah,
you know.
I heard strings can go anywhere from I think 100 to 500, like $500 strings.
Oh, you
You
can
got
get
to be
expensive
careful with those.
strings. Yeah, you can get some really expensive strings. I don't do that. I do use Ernie Ball, but I use a custom string set. So I
Yeah.
don't go any more than 40 or $50 with custom strings. You know what I mean? My bass, on the other hand, I mean those I got GHS boomers on there, and I think those were like 60 something, $70, something like that. The ones that I get.
So, what about pianos? Now, you ever heard of the Steinway?
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that there's a certain now that we say that you like the Jackson because of the sound? Do you have any other specific instruments like the name of the piano or the name of something else or you just decide to just this is the company I'm gonna go with. Jackson is the one I'm gonna use, or do you mix and match them? Like saying, okay,
I mix and match them. I mean, it's just really what I'm able to have access to. Also, you know what I mean. I mean, obviously, I'd love to have a Bosendorfer piano, but I definitely can't afford that. I've played one once in a store, but it was a normal size one. You know what I mean? It wasn't anything. It was a baby grand, and I got to mess with it a little bit. The guy was kind enough to let me, play it a little bit. But outside of that, I mean, like I said, my dad he has an upright Wurlitzer, and it's just fine for me.
wow, that's amazing. What kind of rituals do you do before you pick up a guitar and start playing? Do you do like the jumping jacks or the cracking of the knuckles? Do you drink something? What do? You don't just walk in your studio, pick up the guitar, and start playing. Don't you do anything to prepare?
No, I'll hook everything up and I'll have disco running in the background.
Oh,
And
really?
I'll just listen to music before I actually play music. I don't do anything special or anything. I'll keep a water or something with me. So
Is it your music you listen to first, or somebody else's?
no, I always listen to other people's music. There's always an inspiration out there somewhere.
So you were mentioning something about during a conversation. You were mentioning the Flock of Seagulls. Now, that was a group that was members. Was Mike Score and his brother both were in the band,
Alley
and
score.
they had the Score brothers, and there's that sound like especially in Iran, and I think Telecommunications is another song, and uh, Space Age Love Song. They have this sort of like this kind of sound of like seagulls flapping. Like,
Hmm.
how do you get that sound, especially in Iran? What's that sound from?
It is actually scraping the strings or picking at the strings with the pick sideways, and he uses a guitar with an aluminum neck, so you have a lot more sustain with aluminum neck than you
Mm.
do with a standard wood neck like I have.
So is that something you actually incorporate in a lot of your songs? That kind of like
I,
seagull type flapping?
I'll give it a little shot here and there, to see if I can make it work or not. If it works, great. If it doesn't, great. When I play live, I try to add a little bit more to stuff, to try to give it more because be honest with you, playing live with this, I have myself, my Jackson, my Vox, a tablet, and my vocal processor. That's it. That's all I have. So I have all my backing tracks on a tablet. So the challenge playing live is still working within the backing track so that the song sounds like you and your song, but to be able to manipulate the guitar and some of the vocals to make it so it doesn't sound exactly the same every time you do it either.
Mm-hmm.
So I will incorporate some of that, scratching or whatever I can do, in pieces that can handle that, in the songs when I do live.
Yeah. By the song "Haunted" again, you have the lyrics: "By the look in your eyes, haunted; by the things in your mind, haunted." How do you know what sound or music produce or tone or melody that you want for "Haunted" and "By the Look in Your Eye"? How do you know that's the sound you wanted? That's the melody you wanted for that?
Like I said, I sit there. I usually have a hum track that I do, so I
Uh,
don't even have a lyric at that point. You know what I mean? It's just I'm humming something in that space, and then when it comes to me while I'm doing my thing, then I'll start putting the pieces together with the vocals and things. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, then I'll just start over.
if there's a certain unusual or impossible to reproduce sound on your record, on your recording, how do you create them in the studio and how do you do them live?
I try not to do anything that I can't do live.
Okay.
That's something I try to do because I mean, there's a quality of live where you can kind of go out of the box and do your thing if you have a band, extend guitar solos, whatever. Being that I am by myself, I try not to do stuff that I cannot reproduce outside. You know what I mean? So I kind of deliberately limit myself that way purposely, so that I do sound like what I'm supposed to sound like in that parameter, you know. Everything that I have out, I can play live except for
Mhm.
the original EP. There's the extra tracks on the original EP I do not
Mhm.
have backing tracks for. So that actually was not even my own doing. I had my computer crashed and I lost all
Mhm.
that. So I try to do, like I said, anything that I try to produce, I try to be able to replicate it the best I can out there. So I'm not, you know, overdoing it in the studio and underperforming out there in live.
Uh, when you approach to writing songs for studio album, is it differently than you do for live performances, or it's the same for you?
No, it's the same for me because I just translate to live when I go to do it live. So, like I said, I try to do little variations in the guitar or the vocals when I'm live to try to give it some little nuance that I can't do, with a full band. Still,
Yeah.
to do something outside, but it still gives it that little flavor.
What exactly does a live like? What is exactly is a live album? Like, what's the difference between live and recorded? Like, what is?
Well, I mean, I've listened to a lot of live albums. A lot of good ones use soundboard, audio,
Hmm.
and that's something I can't do, obviously
Oh,
because I don't have, you know. So the one that I did that I took the live tracks that I had was from all the same place and same source, but it just wasn't a soundboard recording. And you can hear it. It sounds more like I guess like in the early 90s when, say Nirvana's bootleg tape was out,
hmm.
before whatever, and it had that live quality to it, but it was, not real good quality, but it was still something to hear what they sound like in a real experience. You know what I mean?
So, what do you think of the whole artificial intelligence when it comes to the music industry? Like, for instance, going back to Paul McCartney, there's a song that was released, a Beatles song, Lost Beatles song with John Lennon,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone went crazy over it. And then Paul McCartney said, "Oh no, it's AI. They cloned John Lennon's voice."
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of the whole AI thing, creating music and listening to a Jimi Hendrix song, which isn't even Jimi Hendrix, it's just an AI. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I've heard a bunch of different ones. There's a Nirvana AI one. There's a whole bunch of different ones, and it's interesting because it's it could be like a window of what could have been, in a lot of those people's lives. It would have been, I don't know. I almost kind of doubt it in a way, but a lot of people kind of still hold on to things, you know. So to have a new song, AI or not, most people are like, "Oh, that's great! It's a new Beatles song, whatever it is," And that's cool, for people who want to hang on to something like that. Would I like to hear a new Beatles song? Yeah, absolutely I would, but I know it's not possible. You know what I mean? If they have some kind of recordings from back then that they can clean up and do like they did with Free as a Bird and, Love or whatever, then yeah, I get it. You know what I mean? But, it's there for it's another facet of entertainment that's being tapped into, really. You know what I mean?
You can get anybody to sing any song. Like
Oh
Johnny
yeah.
Cash singing Linkin Park, for instance. I mean, where's it going to stop to the point? Who's going to get paid for a cover version of um, Gary Newman singing Bohemian Rhapsody, and as an AI? Why not just go to Gary and say, "Hey, can you do a version of Bohemian Rhapsody?" Why do an
Right.
AI version of it? Because you exorbitant amount of money you have to pay him. You don't want to pay him any money, so you do it for free.
Right.
So
And it's going to end up in a situation like Napster did. You know what I mean? There's rights infringements on that, I'm sure, between deceased artists and the
yeah,
families and whoever owns the actual thing. Like the Jimi Hendrix, for example, it's Hendrix family releases for the new releases. They're not even, reprise records or whatever it was then, or whoever houses it. It's completely different. So I'm sure someone along the line, after it gets big enough or popular enough, it's going to be a big backlash with it, like Napster and all the places that people used to get music for nothing, because somebody's going to want paid, in the end.
yeah, and I certainly don't think you want your voice cloned just for people to make money off you. I think because you don't get
Right.
a cent of it.
No, no.
Um, and you're talking about 45s too in our conversation. I remember the 45s because I would go out and buy a 45, and it's always the B side that you like better than the A side. And I
Hmm.
think some of the hits from different bands and musicians, I think it was the B side that became the hit, a, even a bigger hit than the actual A side. I've heard about that as well. Um, so, what obstacles or challenges? Let's ask Grim. What obstacles or challenges do you encounter when it comes to getting your music out there and heard by potential new fans?
Um, well, this distribution part of it's wrapped up. I go through DistroKid,
Mhm.
so there's plenty of space out there where I'm at to get people to listen to it. That's a whole nother thing. There's two things that happen with this. First thing is I'm on Twitter. So on Twitter, obviously, I post it and say, "Hey, I got this great new track." You may think it's great, you may not, but I think it's great. So I'm going to tell you I have this great new track.
Mhm.
Problem with Twitter is that I have probably 95 or more percent, and probably 98% of my people that are on there that follow me
Hmm.
are other bands. So they have their great new track they want you to hear too. So we kind of in a vicious circle with this. You know what I mean? The hope is that you listen to it, add it to a playlist, your fans and their fans get hooked, it gets
Mhm.
spread, and everybody's fans listen. Well, I can tell you from my Spotify numbers, I don't have these great big Spotify numbers because I don't think I'm reaching the right audience doing it that way. It's a great community. I love the indie community. Believe me. Don't get me wrong. And I think it's a great thing that we're spreading the wealth around because we're all on the same bus, taking the same ride, trying to get to the same destination. I've said that many times. I love it. But then that's where the other side comes in. It's people like maybe you that had no idea what Grimrock was, listen to it, that you may become a fan now. Now, I don't know. You said you played music though, right?
I'm actually a opera tenor. I'm a singer basically. My instrument is my voice.
Okay. Well, same thing. So you're a creator too of music. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So I'm still not reaching the correct audience, you know what I mean? Even with you. So that's what, all the like the promoting I was doing yesterday in Greensburg, PA, because that's where my next gig is going to be at.
Oh,
So
nice.
now I'm out there stopping at every gas station and on the way and all the way up to the shopping malls. And I mean, I was everywhere yesterday, passing out these little 4x6 cards that said where Grim was playing on September 2nd.
Wow.
So like you said, it's difficult getting the general public engaged like that. I said that earlier too. You know what I mean? To get somebody to actually engage with that is probably one of the hardest things in the music industry to get. Your piece of the pie, the people that want to listen to you and pull you up specifically, because unless you're Aerosmith or Led Zeppelin, nobody knows who you are at this stage. You know what I mean?
Well, we all know who Led Zeppelin is, but we want people to know who Grimrock is and listen to his
Right.
music too. But I wonder if they had to scratch, they had to dig, they had to shout in order to be known. And music back in the 60s and 70s and 80s, you didn't have this software, Pro Tools, didn't have Spotify. It was just pure music. You just had a band, you had the instruments, and you just got together once or twice a week to play. Now you got like, you can play over Zoom. Like, for instance, Vox and Sticks. I don't think they've actually met, they've only just done everything online. Um, so, yeah. Um, but how would you describe your music to someone who's never heard it before? And why should they listen to it?
So I like to bundle it under alternative rock. And it's kind of more broad that way because you can name a ton of bands that are alternative rock artists, but they all have different types of sounds.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't feel that I fit in one certain thing. Yes, it's rock and roll to the bare minimum, but there's other facets to it that, sometimes I get a little heavier, sometimes I'm a little lighter,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I have more keyboard in it, sometimes I have, so I kind of just make it broad. It's alternative rock. That's it, and if you listen to it, if you listen to any of the tracks and you say you sound like, and you pick somebody, I don't know. I have a hard time. I've been asked that many times. Who do you think you sound like? And I really don't know because I have so many different things that I throw together in each track, that it's a mishmash of styles that I put together. You know what I mean? Does it make me original and unique? I don't know. I'm sure a lot of artists do. I've heard a lot of great indie artists out there played, insanely good. That I think, man, they should have already been signed somewhere along the line. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And but it's just the thing, you give yourself a broad title and just run with it, And why would you want to listen to Grimrock? Well, see this smile. It's you got to be out there with the people, and
Mm-hmm.
when I get around and I do the things that I do, even in my work, I'll stop and talk to people at my work about it. I don't go overbearing or crazy. I'm like, hey, did you know? And I'll walk away from it, and then I had one this morning, our dispatch person that said they listened to Grimrock over the weekend. They were in a little party and they listened to see what it was. And that was the absolute best feeling I had in the world since I started this thing, because they're normal, everyday people who do not play in a band at all, listen to it and was able to give me a title for a song, which was that just blow me away because they had to have been paying attention. And that's what the goal is. You know what I mean? So, yes, I'm sort
Yeah.
of smiling about it. It's great.
Excellent. Do you have a playlist? And is Haunted your first song, or is Haunted a closer?
Haunted is not the first song. My closer is actually Everything Is on Fire. It's really heavy. I had to detune to D. What I open up with usually is You Belong, You See, which is the first track of the upcoming GR5 disc. Now, see, I've released 5 singles now from it because I intend on being a 12-track album in the end. And track 5 will be September 8th. It's called Faded. But I usually open up with You Belong, You See, and I won't say anything to anybody. I'll just get up there, turn my knob, and just go right into it. I'm making eye contact. I'm running right into the song, and then I'll introduce myself afterwards. You know what I mean? After the first track, and then move on from there.
We had a band called Bad Mary on some months ago. And I don't know if you get the same feeling and if that happens to you, but they had a song called Return of Space Girl. And the one thing that really made them excited and know that their music is being played and people are listening to is when you go in, you start playing these songs and everyone in the audience starts singing along word by word. How about you? Like when you play Haunted or many other songs, do you get people who actually heard your song in the audience actually singing along with it?
I don't know. I don't have anybody loudly doing it. And shout out to Bad Mary. I like them. I like their music and stuff.
Yeah.
I do follow them, and yes, I do listen to them.
Yeah, they're good, eh?
Hi. But yeah, no, I haven't had anything like that, but I do have the Grimrock radio where I have the lights out chant at the beginning and I get people to interact with
Mm-hmm.
that and then go from there. And it's repetition. Am I going to see the same person at the next gig? I don't know. Hopefully I do. But if I don't, then I have to start all over with the whole thing. You know what I mean? But eventually I'll have enough people coming and repeat, you know what I mean, to see this guy here, Grim. And hopefully that does do like Bad Mary, has with that particular song, which incidentally is a good song. I do like it.
Yeah. Have you ever had anybody email you, whatever, said that song you play last night or what concert? Or I heard one of your songs on Spotify and it saved my life, or it brought me healing to my marriage or something. Have you ever had anything like that?
Absolutely not. I had one guy tell me not to quit my day job.
Oh, really? That's a
I got
terrible thing to say.
it's all right. I thanked him for the compliment. I said, "Thank you for taking the time to make a comment." And he liked
That's
it, so I don't know, whatever.
that's
He
not a
listened,
compliment.
but he listened. You know what I mean? So I mean, that's all I care about.
Don't gi-
I'm
don't
glad
give
he
up your.
listened. Hey, not everybody's gonna like it. I get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I gotta stop thinking that just because 10 people like my singing and 2 people say they want me to don't give up my day job, and I would say you sound like scary monster, like of one comment I've had, doesn't gonna make me go, I'm leaving now.
Right.
Why? Because
Exactly.
only 2 people said they didn't like it, but the other 8 loved it. So I mean, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't let it get to me. It's
No.
it's their opinion, and that's cool. We're on a planet where everybody has an opinion, and that's
Yeah.
your opinion, and I respect that. You know what I mean? Maybe one day later on, when I actually do get big and famous, hopefully one day that they'll re-type at it and be like, "Hey, I seen you so and
Yeah.
so the other day, and you were hot." You know what I mean? Who knows? You never know. I'm not gonna block them and give them bad wishes or anything like that. You know what I mean? It's just more motivation for me. Maybe I do need to clean up on my vocals a little bit when I'm live. I don't know. Maybe that track in particular. You know what I mean? I get self evaluation out of it, whether it's negative or not. It causes me to go back and look at it and really just evaluate it.
I find nothing wrong with your singing. So for like there's so many musicians out there and I don't really want to get any like comments or anything if I name drop, but I know a lot of singers out there. I'm like saying, yeah, don't give up your day job. Definitely, because I mean, like, how can you say that I'm a bad singer when you got others out there, I won't give a name, who sound like, oh my goodness, I don't want to listen to or walk away or something. Like, I mean, so that I'm so sorry that you had to go through that, but
Oh, I'm not.
don't let it stop you from creating music,
Oh
right?
no, absolutely not. Like I said, I just I sit there and look at it and just go on from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Who would you like to tour with if you had a certain band that you want to tour with and play with, who would actually literally want to learn your songs and they would want you to play along with their songs in their concert? Who would that be?
Hmm. I don't know. I don't think anybody's ever asked me this question. So you're actually the first person to ask me that.
I asked
So
some really deep questions. I ask
yeah,
questions
that
people
was
think, why? I've never asked it.
that one I never got asked that. But if I had to pick somebody, I tell you who I'd really like to play on tour with would be Adam Ant.
Adam
I,
Ant.
I love Adam Ant. He's still playing live. Man, he's doing a fantastic job out there. He's got a new band out there backing him. They sound lights out, man. He's doing a really good job. So he's traveling the UK right now. I'd like to do that. I'd love to play some of his stuff. I love especially old Adam Ant stuff. I mean, like pre Prince Charming stuff.
Really?
The old punk like Fall In and stuff like that. I love that stuff and Kick and stuff
Wow.
like that. Car Trouble, those songs. I love those songs, and I'd love to play with him one day. That'd be great. That'd be absolutely great. You know.
So I take it you'll play any genre then.
Oh, I like I said, I love a lot of different things.
Mm.
And I can pick just certain things out like pretty quick. With things. You know what I mean? So yeah, man. I love music. I just love music, and I love creating it, and that's what I do.
How did it make you feel mentally and emotionally when you found out the Haunted was on fire since its release on May 5th and been lingering top 10 on these different radio charts, number 9, number 17? What kind of does it give you a sort of like a feeling of completion? Does it give you a feeling of My father would be proud. Does it give you like, they like Haunted? Really? Like what's your feeling on that?
No, I was pretty excited about it. Any of
Yeah.
it. Shine's another one. I get a lot of airplay for Shine.
Wow.
This is Only Rock Radio. Had it is it's number one for week of this week. It's number one in Spain right now on Only Rock Radio. Shine. It's been number one twice on their station. And it was number. I can't remember what the other number was. I have to go back and look, to be honest with you. But I've had several different ones that were like that, and I feel great about it. I'm glad somebody likes it. Out there in a bigger capacity. Um, and internationally, that's even better. Somebody in Spain in a radio station likes us enough to play it enough to let it chart. Or in Germany, Mr. Ollie on Radio TSFC, or Radio Wigwam is another one. UK, Radio XRP, those places, they play my stuff a lot, and I'm thankful for that. You know what I mean? And each one of those things, it's not really a completion. It's just it's a new goal. It sets a new goal. So now my next track's got to be in that par, in that range. I got to make sure that I'm more cognizant about, well, if they're liking this, I'm going to keep trying to roll with this. You know what I mean? Get that attention, keep that attention, and, my best video before that was a song called The Product. And The Product is a great song. I'm very proud of that song. And that was off the first Grimrock EP. And my friend goes by M. Anthony Kushak. He's an author. Really, he's a lyricist. And he wrote a book and got a hold of me one day and said, "Hey, I got this book. Would you make some music?" And we did a project for, I don't know, 15, 18 months.
Wow.
And that particular song, I put a video together way, way later, in preparation for the expanded release of the EP. And I got good reception on that. It was the right time and the right place for it. So that was my new goal. It was like, okay, that's my biggest video outside of city was before that. So now I got to, Haunted, which did really well. It's nearing 700 views on YouTube. And I know that doesn't sound like a great number, compared to a lot of people getting thousands and millions or whatever they get to. But, for me, that's an accomplishment. That's the biggest one I've got, which means I'm growing, people are looking at it more, and that's all I can do, just keep growing and rolling with it. So each new thing gives me a new goal, and that's what I shoot for,
Do you think Britney Spears' song Toxic deserves 1 billion streams on Spotify?
I think deserves is kind of strong because, when you get into artists like that, it's almost an automatic thing. It's like, if Aerosmith released a new song today, I'm sure it would be out like right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like Filter's new song. Filter got a new album coming out, and their new song is Lights Out. And it has a lot of that impact, that it had when they were in the early 90s. It had that feel, you know what I mean? I think it's an excellent recording, but, maybe one day it'll be Grim. Oh, Grim made a new CD at 70 and they'll hit the like button and they'll get 1 million. You never know. You never know.
Why not, Grim? I mean, like, for instance, I noticed that even though it said Haunted is top 10 on the XRP radio, it's only number 9 and number 17 on different radio. I'm like, why is it top 10 on one radio and yet it's top number 17 on another radio? Like how does that work? How did they do that? What determines whether your song is going to be number 9 here and number 17 here?
I don't know. They're two different radio stations. I don't know. I don't know what the inner workings are for that. I have no idea.
Did you ever check to see like the XRP radio U&I charts in UK? Was number 9. Do you ever wonder what number 8 or number 7 song was?
Yes, I look at everybody's stuff. Yeah. I try to see what it is. If I can, if I have enough time to sit down and listen to it, I will listen to it because I'd like to hear what it is that is doing well, and who knows that, that band might get a new fan for me, you know what I mean? Because I might like their stuff that much, like the Crom. Yeah. I love the Crom. I'll listen to anything they put out. I'll listen to, I'll tell you that. Alan, that's a shout out to you guys. Love you guys.
Since you live in Pittsburgh, has anybody actually reached out to you or bumped into you and say, "Hey, I know you're Grim from Grimrock"? You ever been recognized like that?
Yes, inadvertently probably, but yeah, sure. Yeah, because I always wear this. I got a logo on the shirt. I got a logo on the head. I'm always walking around like that. But I did, we talk about people. I was telling you about people and the other bands that are on Twitter.
Mhm.
Orange G is one of them. And I ran into him at Mr. Small's in Pittsburgh this past Monday, and it was great. And we took a photo together and stuff. And it's the first time I got to really talk to him, in person and stuff. So it was really cool to run into him.
One thing I got to start doing is buying the merchandise. Like I want one of those T-shirts that you have there. That's a cool T-shirt. I'm gonna get one of those.
Well, DM me. I'll send you one.
Yes, please. So if someone wanted to do what you do and they came up to you and said, Grim or Mr. Grim, I want to do what you do, what is the first thing you tell them?
First thing I would tell them is, if you make your mind up to do something like that, just don't give up on it. If I were to, encounter the things that I encountered with this project at a much younger age, I probably would have gave up on it then. You know what I mean? But if, somebody's out there and willing to put the work in, I mean, it's every day. I like to affectionately call it a hashtag of spreading the Grim daily. And it's really the truth. You got to be in everybody's eyes and everybody's ears and everybody's mouth every day. Every day. You got to be persistent about it, but not overbearing, and you got to be prepared to accept a lot of no, before you get your yeses. I will tell you that.
That's certainly true, my friend. I believe that wholeheartedly. Do you have songs that are age restriction, like that are sort of X-rated that kids shouldn't be listening to?
No, I absolutely don't.
So
I think there's one that has one swear word in it, and that's one of the older tracks that don't even get played out. So
why did you choose just to be a solo artist and call yourself a band? Don't you want to play with actually other members of a band, or do you have like a?
It'd be great to play with other people. I've never put that to rest. There was a guy locally here that I played bass with that we played original stuff back in the mid '90s. And I got reattached to him and talked to him and everything, but he just wasn't interested now. You know what I mean? Like I said, the local area, my immediate area, I'm south of Pittsburgh by 40 minutes ish, 45 minutes. So my local area is more, you can play cover tunes and play all these bars and make your money there. And nobody wants to take that step outside that box, here, because I've tried. One of the places I played I thanked them for letting me play there, but it wasn't the right crowd for that. But they were cool with me about it. You know what I mean? But I know that's what the environment is here, Now to say, okay, well, I can go to Pittsburgh and do this, then it starts, well, now people are traveling, trying to make schedules together, things like that. So at this point, I'm rather used to not having anybody else, although I'd love to play with other people, like live, especially. I think that'd be fantastic to be able to interact with people, do things back and forth. Although I do collaborations, I'm getting ready to do one with Louis Tivy. I've done one with Trench Gun a couple times.
Oh,
I've
that's
done
nice, Lewis. Yeah, I
Al
saw the
Warren.
interview. Yeah,
Al Warren. I did one with him. I'd like to do some more with him. I mean, I've done, lyrical collaborations. My buddy Jason Clem, call him King Clem. He's the lyrics behind Strange Wonder. The whole entire EP is Mark Kushak. He's the lyrics behind that. I have 2 sets of lyrics for Mad Oyster. One was City. He's got me a new one, so I'm working on it now. And Angel Ray, who also writes books under Angelica Knight. She has lyrics. It's for Abyss, and I'm planning actually a photo shoot for that next Tuesday. So,
yeah. I was looking at your song "Everything Is on Fire" lyrics. With a slip of your tongue, you go out of your mind. Don't you know you're on shaky ground? Well, you have like an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old ask you what those lyrics mean.
I was pretty salty when I wrote them. I can tell you that. I was really salty when I wrote them, and it was more like I'm not going to name the band, but it was a kind of a diss track to the particular band at that time. I'm not going to name.
Yeah,
I'm sure it was a misunderstanding. I was just salty at that point.
So I wanted to ask you about love songs. What do you think of them? Because you have one called Love.
I do.
It's from the album Black Out Your Mind, Volume 1. And everyone I suggest, just look at the description. You'll see all his albums and information down there. Listen to more of Grimrock and get into his music and follow him on all social platforms. The song is called Love, and it goes, love, yes, love, close your eyes, live in your dreams, open up your mind. That's quite an easy song because it didn't have very many, different lyrics. It's all got like "Living Your Dreams" twice. It's got "What Do You See" twice. What kind of song is that? What kind of love song is that?
The mode it was in the music. It was the music. It was the standout for it, I think, because I started it a certain way and I ended it a certain way. You know what I mean? I actually went a little bit further out of the box with a different type of lead that I would normally do with it. And it really is. It's really about seeing things beyond your own self, and seeing the love and everything around you. You know what I mean? And for people to just really embrace that. You know what I mean? Just like Shine. When I say love is inside of you, when I do it live, it's and me too. You know what I mean? I add that to it because, a product of the 60s, I do believe in that still, believe it or not. I don't have beads, but, I do believe that, there is an answer with love, between one another. And I'll always believe that to the day I die. You know what I mean?
I'm product of the 60s too, but I would have been too young to go to Woodstock, and I guess you would have been too young, but
I would have been too young.
would you have wanted to go to Woodstock in 69?
Oh, if I was of age to do it, yeah, I would have. I would have loved to have tried to travel there and be there.
And see Jimi
That was
Hendrix live and Janis Joplin? Wow.
just to be part of that vibe. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? There's a lot of harmony and peace and just the whole goal, that, utopian thing, and everything. It's just really, really cool thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, I totally wish I was amongst that group, because it seems like a good amount of like seeing Jimi Hendrix and Freebird and Leonard Skinner, and I can imagine being part. And all the subsequent Woodstocks that they had didn't really do very much for people, because that was the Woodstock.
Oh
And
yeah.
the Woods, if Grimrock existed back then, I guess, yeah, definitely Woodstock would have had Grimrock. I remember Grimrock. Yeah, I remember.
Hey, I'd have been blessed to play something like that. You don't even know.
Yeah.
I'm blessed to play wherever I can play at this point to get the exposure, let alone something like that.
But yeah, I'm reading all these accolades, Graham, and you got like you're being nominated for Best International Male Artist 2022 by Radio Wigwam, and
Mm-hmm.
being number 91 band. I wonder what number 90 band is. I wonder what number 1 band is for 2022. That's kind of
I
interesting.
can't remember.
That
I
would be
saved it, but I can't remember what it was. I can't remember off the top of my head. And actually, I was told in those certain terms that I'm already nominated for best band for 2023 in one of those number capacities for Radio TSFC. That was number 91 last year. I've already told that I've been nominated.
Now, if it's for a band, do they literally do they kind of cast you aside, or say you can't be part of it because you said you're a band, but it's just one person?
I think people look. I think what happens is people look and see that there is not a band. I like to consider myself a band because I'd hope to be a band one day. You know what I mean? But I'm really a solo artist. And I'm just one person. But I kind of feel like I'm a band because I'm playing everything anyway.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. One of one of another. But yeah, the Radio Wigwam, they did the Best International Male 2022. I was shocked. I was floored when they had sent me the email, and I'm hoping to get the same nomination. I was actually one of 4,500, by the way, for that, and it was one in a group of 12 in my group.
Yeah,
So
I'm speechless. Graham, this is amazing. This is like, for instance, the Radio Indie Alliance Top 10. You were number 1 for Shine, and Michael Bade band was Beautiful Day. Like, isn't it great to be in the same listing as him, eh?
hey, I tell you what, there's a lot of great bands on those. I'm surprised. I'm happy to be with any of them, man. Really, to be honest with
Yeah.
you, there are some good sounding artists out there. I'm telling you, I'm thankful to be in a group of people that are like that on any of those charts. And I really mean that. I'm not saying that just to be nice to everybody else. I do mean that. That's a great crowd to be in.
Yeah, it's actually pretty difficult. There's just so many bands out there. And I interviewed Star Uni just the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good to, if you get into a band, you become a musician, you kind of think of a name to call yourself, and then go out there and make your own way. Like, you're not going to have anybody hold your hand. Say, Graham, can you hold my hand so I can, I thought people know Grim, they would know me, So you got to make your own way. You got to do it yourself. You got to scratch, you got to dig, you got to bag, just get your name out there.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's actually bands and musicians out there that nobody even heard about. They're just playing their own little gigs. And then they go back home and they just do their own thing. It's like they're really good, but they don't want to go out there for some reason. Maybe they're
Right.
scared or
I don't know. I know I want to be out there, so
Oh yeah,
I push daily for that.
every day, definitely. Also, so if someone actually did want to join and say, "Well, I know Graham that you're the only member of the band. Let's become two members." What is it you would look for if you were to get this guy on board?
Um, Myself, I would just look for creativity. So pretty much, I wouldn't want to play any of my stuff up front with whoever it would be. I would just like to sit there and just kind of muddle around, just kind of jam a little bit, get a feeling for what they have, listen to them a little bit, see what there is, see if there's like a common glue that we can work
Mm-hmm.
on musically, and then just kind of evolve it from there. You know what I mean? I wouldn't expect somebody to come in and learn my stuff to play and then start a whole, uh, thing. I'd like to be able to see where we could go with an original start, and then we can work everything through as the steps go, as time goes on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, with all this playing and everything, so how do you manage your mental health? How do you keep yourself sane without breaking down or
I don't really know. I'm just being honest. I have no idea. I
this?
run constantly. I always joke about it, man. It's lack of sleep, lots of coffee, and that's the ugly truth of it. I put a lot of time between work and family and this. You know what I mean? And sometimes I really don't sleep very well. And but that's on me. I choose to do that because I'm trying to be out there and be heard. You know what I mean? The things I do now hopefully will benefit me later, but I got to really push.
Yeah.
You know.
Was there ever a time in your life that you just wanted to drop everything and quit?
Nah, I think I'm past that stage.
Mm.
When I first started playing music and stuff, I'd struggled with not really knowing how to read music and things like that, and trying to play with other people and things like that. But it all worked itself out. I joined a couple guys that it was a real accident. I heard somebody playing music from an upstairs apartment from the downstairs, and I went down and knocked on his door,
Really?
and I knocked on his door and I was like, "Hey man," I said, "I can hear your music upstairs." He's like, "Oh no, sorry, I'll turn it down." I was like, "No," I said, "It's weird because it sounds familiar, but I have no idea what it is, and I know a ton of music." He's like, "Oh, it's my own stuff," and I'm like, "Really?" And I actually had a keyboard at that time I took down. This is a long time ago, and we started jamming. He's like, "Oh, I know a bass player." And then after about 2 or 3 sessions of that, we decided the keyboard was not the way to go. That I'd pick guitar up, and I've never played a guitar before that. So I knew enough to do basic bar chords. That's all I knew. So, and then I just learned from that. Everything I picked up, I just kind of learned, and that me and the other guy and the first guy that I talked to, he quit playing. And so me and the other guy just kept playing, and we'd switch instruments, and, you know, a lot of learning. And I credit that to now being able to do the things that I do.
So Grim is the first song you learned on a guitar, Smoke on the Water?
Absolutely not. It's a song called There's a Girl, and it was an original song.
You're the second person that said that Smoke on the Water is not the song that they learned to play.
I don't know. I don't know if I could play it or not. I've never played it.
I don't know why people play that. Is it because it contains all the chords or what? Dun,
Got me.
dun,
I've never
dun,
played it
dun,
myself.
dun, 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 like
I've never played it myself. I can't tell you.
So I want to start learning to play the bass guitar. What kind of guitar do you recommend for me to start on?
I have an Ibanez, but that's just my preference. Um, I actually have a couple stickers on it. I have 2 stickers on it actually. One's from the Monolith Cage, it's my first project with Mark, and the other one's the Grimrock sticker on it. I don't know if I can grab it real quick. Let me grab it real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow, look at that. I love it.
And, there you go.
Yeah, the didgeridoo. So what's the sound in there that it makes that sound? What is it in there?
It's nothing. There's this. I can see through you. I can see you right there. See? There's
But how
nothing.
does it make that kind of sound?
It's your vibrations of your lip.
Oh,
So pretty much with the didgeridoo, you have to do like with your like vibrate your lips like you're
really?
yeah, like you're motorboating, you know.
Like the embouchure has to be done differently, I think. Like
Yeah, and it's a lot of lung power. I'll tell you that to keep it like a constant and keep a pitch to it. But there you go. There's my didgeridoo and my
yeah,
bass.
I love it. Yep. Well, everyone, Grimrock will be at the official website, the Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. So yeah, really, really enjoyed this conversation. I really appreciate you, Grim, being given the chance to meet you and talk to you and find out what just makes you tick.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it's
Really
like
appreciate that.
crazy brain I have, and I appreciate you having me on.
You're very, very welcome. I do look forward to more music in your future. Where do you find yourself this time next year?
Hopefully playing more. Hopefully, who knows, somewhere all over the planet. I'd like to be all over the planet playing. By this time next year. It's very ambitious. You know what I mean? But it's not impossible. So
I really appreciate that, Grim. So, everyone, we're going to give you the Grimrock haunted video after the live stream. Thank you for tuning in and like, subscribe, and share his videos. Thanks, Grim.
thank you.
Thanks for your time.